So hello there, people of the internet, and it's once again the time. It is the time for guides. Oh man, all the theory crafting, all the mathematics, and just people trying to figure out what works the best, and all the communication between different, people that play the same class and spec as you, and just trying to figure out what works the best. I love this part of an expansion. This is my favorite part of an expansion. So, recently I've switched to Feral Druids because Balanced Druid is just not for me in Worlds of Draenor. There is no possibility of failure. And for me, when there is no possibility of failure, there is no possibility of a reward. You can't be rewarded, in my opinion, when there is no chance for you to fail. So without failure, there is no reward. Okay? So I switched to Feral Druid because it allows me to fail and go, damn, that was not what I was supposed to do. Whereas with Boomkin, it's just you do the same thing all the time, and it just works every time. So, Feral Druid. It's amazing. So, guide. Let's start with the talents as always. Level 15, your movement, speed, or boost, or mobility talents, whatever you want to call them. For dungeons, I would take Wild Charge, because it just allows you to charge in stealth, so you can get behind the boss. If your tank is not patient, and he can't wait 3 seconds for you to get in stealth and actually get to the boss. So I would take Wild Charge but for raid environment, Feline Swiftness, I would take it when the boss moves around a lot. For instance, if he leaves some sort of a puddle on the ground, you need to move constantly, I would take Feline Swiftness. Displacer Beast, if you have to jump over something or somewhere and you have no target to charge to, and Wild Charge when you have to jump between adds and the boss and stuff like that. Level 30, I would take Ysera's Gift almost 100% of the time, because in Mists of Pandaria, there were more encounters, or pretty much all the encounters later on, where you just get smacked down to 5% health and you need to be healed up within seconds and then smacked down again. This is not the case in Warlords of Draenor, so renewal is lot less useful than it used to be in Mists of Pandaria, so Ysera's Gift will be your baseline, and if there is the situation where you just get smacked down to 5% health and you need to be healed up really fast, I would take renewal then. Cenarion Ward. Then level 45. All three of those talents are very inappropriate to use in a dungeon, because all three of those will annoy the living shit out of your tank. But for raid environment, Fairy Swarm, good for slowing adds or something. Mass Entanglement, really good for ad control. You can keep them in place while other people AoE them, or you AoE them, doesn't really matter. And Typhoon, good for repositioning. Repositioning skills are always strong. Just think about Garrosh. Typhooning adds into the Iron Stars, stuff like that. It also can be used as an interrupt, which is nice as well. Level 60, Incarnation just wins. It just wins. Just in case you can't use Incarnation, use Soul of the Forest. Force of Nature is garbage, pretty much. Alright? Because it roots the target, okay? It has another component. It roots the target, so it can't do as much damage as Soul of the Forest, which just grants you more energy. But Incarnation has so much synergy with your abilities and your glyphs that you just want to use it as much as possible. Okay, and it's a nice DPS burst. So Incarnation allows Shred and Rake to function as if you are in stealth. You can also stealth while in combat. Now, what does that mean? Well, Rake will do, if you take a look in the spell book, will do 100% more damage from stealth, which is nice. And Shred will do 35% more damage, and it will double its critical strike chance, which is big. It's really big. Another synergy comes from one of your glyphs. This is Glyph of Savage Roar. This is the one glyph you will never swap out. This is one glyph that you will always have, as far as everyone in the world and their mom and their grandma is concerned. This is the one glyph you will always have. Alright? Glyph of Savagery is a DPS decrease, by the way. Glyph of Savage Roar is what you should go with. So, when you Rake or Shred while prowling, you are granted Savage Roar as if it were used with 5 combo points. Now, when you look at Incarnation, it basically causes Rake and Shred to function as if you are in stealth. So, every time you use an attack, Rake or Shred, it will give you this Savage Roar. So, for the first, let's just say, minute and a half of the fight, you don't have to care about Savage Roar at all, because you have Incarnation on, and you're constantly refreshing Savage Roar. So that's why Incarnation is just so bloody strong right now. These two glyphs, they're optional. Cat Form, more healing. I prefer it to Glyph of Ninth Life. In Mists of Pandaria, Glyph of Ninth Life would be stronger than Cat Form. But in Worlds of Draenor, the encounters are different. Okay, the damage is small. You know, it just doesn't smack you down to 5% health in 1 second. Okay, the damage is a lot more gradual. So cat form is much better because you will always have hots on you or someone is healing you, so it's better. And just, you know, Stampeding Roar, the best ability in the game. 30 yards, yeah, why not? So that's why Incarnation is so strong. Level 75, Roar is garbage because you can use it while you're out of range, which means you can whiff with it, and then it's on cooldown for 30 seconds. Not really that great, is it? When you whiff with this, which is incredibly easy because 10 yards, it's not much. In World of Warcraft, it's just not much. So, you know, if you whiff with it, it's just like, I whiffed. Fuck. So, yeah. Ursus Vortex, much better for at control, you know. So, Ursus Vortex, at control. Just think back at Dark Shaman encounter. At the Dark Shaman encounter in Siege of Orgrimmar, how strong Ursus Vortex in combination with Mass Entanglement was. It was incredibly strong. Then we have Mighty Bash, which is just better than Roar, because once again you can use it to stun something, which means you interrupt it. If you don't want something to go somewhere, you can stun it. It's good. Okay, Bash is gonna be your go-to talent for this tier, and if you need more art control, you can use Vortex. Then level 90, I think Dream of Scenarios is gonna be your baseline talent because it increases healing from Healing Touch and Rejuvenation by 20%, and we can now use Rejuvenation while in cat form, so that is big. And your Healing Touch and Rejuvenation also heal you when you used to heal someone else. So when you can basically use focus macros for your tank. What you do is you focus Healing Touch the tank, and it will also Healing Touch you. If you focus Rejuve the tank, it will Rejuve you. And as a cat, you have a lot of downtime. So in this downtime, you're going to be throwing out Rejuvenations. So you will always have Rejuvenation on you, and you're also healing your group. And increases the healing done by it by 20%. And that, in combination with Ysera's Gift, it's a lot of healing. Let's just say, okay? Heart of the Wild and Nature's Vigil are not that great, but they're not bad either, okay? They've lost their damage components, so Heart of the Wild no longer gives you a stat bonus, and Nature's Vigil no longer increases your damage dealt. They are fairly similar in what they do, but they are very different, alright? So Heart of the Wild, you would take this for a fight where, for instance, you need another healer. Once per fight, you need another healer because the damage is just too much. You can take Heart of the Wild, jump out of cat form, or even stay in cat form and throw out Rejuves as you're doing damage. Nature's Vigil, you can use this with cooldowns, and basically in fights where you kinda need more healing, but you still need the DPS, and you know you need it multiple times throughout the fight, because it only has 1.5 minute cooldown. That means you can use it multiple times, and it's up to you and your raid to decide which one of those two is more beneficial, or if you would be better off with just Dream of Scenarios and throwing out Rejuvenations throughout the entire fight. Alright? Level 100. For single target damage, Lunar Inspiration is the #1 talent. Claws is a PvP talent, unfortunately, because it's probably the coolest one. And Blood Talents is, right now, I do believe it's going to be stronger as we go further into the expansion. But for right now, it's only beneficial for big burst AoE against 8 or more targets, let's just say, where you can really like thrash and then use Blood Talents swipe. That's really strong. Now, this will still do more damage compared to Lunar Inspiration when you have the perfect setup and you have the perfect execution, which you will never have. It might happen once per dungeon, and that will usually happen on Thrash, because you have 5 combo points and you have already Blood Talents active, so you can just bleed cleave like mad and it will do more damage. But generally, you know, 99.99999% of the time, Lunar Inspiration is going to be better because it's more consistent. It's just Moonfire. You will always have it on the target, so it's more consistent. You will always do it. It will always be there. Whereas Blood Talents, at least now, it's not. Alright? Just because we don't have as much crit as we would like to have, Blood Talents is not that great. Because what you would, you know, ideally what you want to do is you want to either bite or roar, Savage Roar, with 5 combo points, so you get the instant healing touch. Then get back up to 5 combo points with Shred, and then use the Healing Touch, and use the 2 charges of Blood Talents to Snapshot, Rip, and Rake. Okay, and that just never happens. Or alternatively, if you really want Blood Talents every time, you have to stop at 5 combo points, really hardcast a fucking Healing Touch, which just is not good. Who wants to hardcast a Healing Touch as a Feral Druid? You know, Feral Druid in cat form, jumping out of cat form, hardcasting Healing Touch, boom, and then using your abilities? No. I would much rather just use Moonfire. It's also better for multiple targets, where you can just use Moonfire. When you have some damage at range, you can use this at range because it's Moonfire. Okay, you don't have to be in melee range for it. So, you know, that's that. You know, Shiver, nah, it's really sad that Claws is just a PvP talent. Then we're gonna talk about stat priority, and it's different than it was in Pandaria. Me and a couple other theory crafters, a couple of my friends that play Feral Druids, we found out that Mastery is your weakest stat for single target DPS. Because what they did is they've changed the damage between bleeds and direct damage spells. Okay? When compared to Mists of Pandaria, bleeds were incredibly strong. So Mastery, ta-da! In Worlds of Draenor, bleeds are not that strong. So, for single target damage, for single target DPS, it goes as follows. Weapon DPS, of course, because you're melee DPS, you always want the best DPS on your weapon. Agility, then it's critical strike, then it's multi-strike, then it's versatility, and I did not calculate this, but according to a couple of theory crafters, versatility is as strong as haste, and then you have mastery at the end, at the very end, for single target. Now, for multi-target, where you can bleed cleave for, you know, an extended period of time where your bleeds can actually tick and do as much damage as they can, it just takes the mastery from the very bottom and it puts it at the top. Alright? So if you can't bleed cleave for an extended period of time, you just take the mastery and it goes. Weapon DPS, agility, mastery, critical strike, multi-strike, haste, and versatility. Alright, that's for multi-target, bleed cleaving. Alright, so that's the stat priorities. Now let's take a look at some rotations. I also have 2 macros, by the way, or 3 macros. I have a Mouseover macro for Rejuvenation. I will put them in the description. The next macro I'm using is my Berserk macro, which just shows you the tooltip of, you know, this picture of Incarnation. It uses Incarnation, Berserk, Berserking for Trolls, and Tiger's Fury. Now there is one important thing. If you want to use this macro, you need to use it like this, because there might be a problem for you. Berserk increases your energy bar by 50 points. Okay, so you have 150 energy when you have Berserk. Tiger's Fury gives you energy back, so it restores your energy. If you write Tiger's Fury before Berserk, it will first restore your energy, which will cap and waste this energy, and then Berserk will increase your energy bar. Alright, so always use Berserk before Tiger's Fury. Right, so the very simple thing, I will try not to talk too much because I'm pretty sure I will screw it up. What we're going to do is we're going to rake, then we're going to use at least 1 shred just to make sure we don't have too much energy. Then we're going to pop cooldowns, we're going to moonfire, and we're just going to start biting and rotating all our dots. Okay, our goal is to keep Savage Roar up all the time, rake up, rip up, and moonfire up as much as we can. And if we can fit any ferocious bites in between, that's a bonus, alright? For simple combo point generation, we're going to use Shred, alright? So we're going to do that, we're going to use 1 of those, and then we can pop all of this. Alright, there goes Moonfire, 1 more Shred, and Rip, and then we're just going to Shred. Shred, we can do 1 more Shred, now we can fit in a Bite, we can use Rake, now we can use Moonfire, and if you think that I am wasting combo points by using my dots, you know, Rake, Rip, and Moonfire too soon, there has been a change. Let's wait. This is what I like. Let's wait. There we go. Boom. There we go. There we go. This is what we want to do. Alright, and then 1 more. There we go. 1 more Shred. Come on, 1 more Shred. And we can actually bite. That's your very simple single target rotation. Now, you have noticed this. I was using Rake, Rip, and Moonfire before they ran out. Now in Warlords of Draenor, you can use spells or dots 3 seconds before they expire, and these 3 seconds will be added to the overall duration, or to the entire duration. So don't worry about that. You have little, you have a small space for error, about 3 seconds or so, alright? So that's the general idea. We want to keep Savage Roar up as much as we can, Rake, Rip, and Moonfire up as much as we can, use Tiger's Fury on cooldown, use Shred to generate combo points, and if we can fit in a Ferocious Bite or two in between refreshing Savage Roar and Rip, that's great. Now let's talk about some Bleach Cleaving or AoE rotations. So 5 and more targets, thrash, swipe, 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 and just keep your Savage Roar up as much as you can. Keep your Savage Roar up just if you want to AoE properly. Alright, let's get out of combat. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. What you want to start out with is take the first target, rake it, and then thrash and just swipe it. If you just have 10 targets or 15 targets, you just do this. Alright, if those targets die within a couple of seconds, this is what you do. And thrash, even though it does shite damage, it increases damage done by swipe because it deals 20% additional damage against bleeding targets. Alright? This is also why we open with Rake and not Shred, apart from Rake doing 100% more damage when used from stealth. Alright? Because, once again, Shred does 20% more damage against bleeding targets. So that's your, let's AoE this shit down because it's just gonna die, and it's not worth bleeding. It's not worth any bleeds. Now, for instance, from 2 to 5 targets, I would say. You start off with Rip, Rip, Moonfire, then we can Rake this one. Let's Moonfire this one, and then you continue single target rotation. Now, Rake is about to fall off, so we're gonna Rake, which means this one is about to fall off. We're gonna Rip it as well. There we go, Rip. Let's take this one, Moonfire, and Moonfire, and Rake. Alright, so you want to keep your bleeds on as many targets as possible. So if you have 2 targets, you want Rake, Rip, and Moonfire on both targets. If you have 3 targets, you do the same thing. Rip, Rake, and Moonfire. Rip, Rake, and Moonfire. Rip, Rake, and Moonfire. And you're just trying to cycle through these mobs. Usually it's the best to cycle through these mobs, not to do it, sporadically. Usually the mobs will be much closer to each other than here. But what you would want to do is you go Rake, 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 and maybe you have 5 combo points, so you Rip here, and then we're gonna go Moonfire, Moonfire, and Moonfire. Alright, then we can, maybe Shred once or twice, and we can Rip this guy. Now, the Rake is falling off, so what we're gonna do once again is Rake. We can run to this guy, Rake, and just cycle through the mobs and get as many dots on them as possible. Now, and this, by the way, is only when these mobs are gonna survive those dots. If you do this on a mob, if you Rip, Rake, and Moonfire a mob that dies the exact same second you ripped him, you have wasted a lot of DPS and you have failed, which is the great thing about Feral Druid. Okay, if you fucked it up, well, you have wasted resources for literally 0 damage. So only do this bleed cleaving for targets that will stay alive throughout the entire duration of your dots. Okay? So that's pretty much it for the Feral Druid. I like it an awful lot. And I will see you next time. I hope it helped you. If you found this helpful or interesting, just give me a like. I don't ask for likes too often, but when I do guides, I do, because I want to know if it actually helps people or not. So thank you once again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.